Hello everybody out there in YouTube land, and welcome to DC Fans United. So today I am continuing my series of reviews by taking a look back at Countdown number 19. So I just did a review of Countdown number 20, so be sure and check that out, and you can check out all of my Countdown reviews. There's over 30 so far, with a link in the description box. So this issue was written by Paul Dini with Tony Bedard and Keith Giffen. The penciling on this was by Jesus Saez, who I personally think is a really good penciler, and he did a lot of the issues on this series. The inks are done by Rodney Ramos, and the colors are done by Pete Pantazis. The lettering is done by Jared K. Fletcher. So the cover is by Carl Kerschel and Dave McCraig. So the cover, unfortunately, is one of my least favorite of the series. In fact, I'll say it's my least favorite, definitely of the ones I've seen. It's just really unpleasant to look at, and even though it's something that basically does happen in the comic, the guy doesn't get chewed on by vultures, and it's just really grotesque. Like, you don't need to put that on the cover. If it's something that happens in a panel inside because it's part of the story, that's fine, but considering all the other things that happen in this issue, I thought it was just kind of a shock cover. It was just kind of obscene for no reason, and I just think it's kind of cruel too, because these are both pretty cool characters. Trickster's the one who's dead, and Piper's the one tethered to him. So we'll go ahead and start off on the first page, and it picks up with what you see on the cover. So Piper is in the desert, he's on the run, and he's also tied to the Trickster, who's dead. So as horrible as all of this is, it's actually kind of cool in some ways. I like survival stories. I like stories like Hatchet is a good example, and there's this other one called The Iceberg Hermit, about a guy who is crashed in the polar ice and has to survive. So this is a similar story where the guy has to survive in the desert. So that's what we see. But the cool thing about it is he's the piper, so he does have his pipe and he can use that to help. And we'll see that in a bit. But he also finds some water and is able to drink from that, which probably is what saves him. Another cool thing about this is the dynamic that happens. So it's pretty horrible that he is tethered to his dead friend, but we see a back and forth dialogue. He's imagining what the Trickster would say, and he keeps talking to him. So as morbid as that is, him talking to the corpse of his friend, I kind of understand that, because it's like he's in a situation that could potentially make you crazy, and he's figuring out a way to adapt. And it's the kind of thing a human would probably do. Someone would probably just kind of pretend the guy they're tethered to is still alive, even though deep down they know he's not. So he has been using his pipe too to play music, and it slows down the bomb. So that's on top of everything else. The tether between the two of them is also a bomb that's going to blow up in 24 hours. But he has been slowing it down to give himself more time. And yeah, he finds some water, so that's pretty cool, and he's drinking from it, although we see that the Trickster's face is face down in the water, so that's probably not the best place for him to be. So then we go to the next page, and we're catching up with the Challengers. They're on Earth 51, which is apparently the perfect Earth. Everything there is ideal. They even say there's no crime, there's no war, there's no disease. And Superman ran a presidential campaign against Liberty Bell, so they had two great choices, and Liberty Bell ended up being the president and is still friends with Clark Kent, and Lois Lane is the press secretary. So everything's ideal there, and it makes sense that that's where Ray Palmer is hiding out, and they're there looking for him. So we go to the next page, and this is something I've really been interested in. This whole story arc that's going on is Granny Goodness has taken over and is corrupting the Amazons. She is pretending to be Athena, and we don't find that out until the very end of the tie-in comic called Amazons Attack, but you find it out a couple times in Countdown, and you see it here. So this soldier, this Amazon, reports to her and tells her that Catwoman and Harley Quinn have escaped, and the Granny Goodness reveals herself and reveals the ones around her are actually the Furies, and that doesn't end well for that Amazon. So then we see actually where Harley and Holly are. So Holly Robinson is Catwoman right now, and they're hiding out in the cave, and they actually come upon Hippolyta. So it turns out Hippolyta has been hiding out there, and she knows all of this stuff that's going on. She knows the Amazons have been essentially led astray, and she doesn't know who Athena is, but she knows that she isn't the real Athena. So it's pretty cool, actually. They kind of team up, and I don't know, I like the dialogue. I think these three would make a great team. And there's some warhounds that have been sent out to find him, so we see a warhound there that's looking for him. And I really like the way Hippolyta is drawn in this. This is Jesus Say's pencils, and he does a really cool job, but it looks just exactly the same way, to me anyways, that Pete Woods draws her in Amazon's Attack. So that's the tie-in that goes with this. And I've done reviews of all 6 issues of Amazon's Attack, so you can check those out sometime too, if you want. I thought it was a pretty good series. So, on the next page, we find out that the Piper has used his pipe and called out, for any kind of animals around, and he found a burro, or a donkey, and then he uses that to carry the Trickster's body. And we also see that the Warhounds have found where our lady heroes are hiding. So this is a pretty epic fight, and kind of the high point of the comic, I thought. So the Warhound comes running into the cave, and these things are apparently crazy strong. It takes an arrow. I'm pretty sure Hippolyta is the one that shot it too, so it's like a super powered arrow, hits it in the nose, and it keeps running and bites the bow and takes the bow. But then Holly Robinson takes a javelin and throws it straight into the beast's head, but it just keeps coming, so that's a hardcore animal. But then on the next page, you see this pretty graphic, I mean, it's pretty bloody, I'll say, scene where Hippolyta jumps and takes it down with a spear. Again, though, the way she's drawn is really awesome. And then we kind of have this little touching scene, too, that I really liked, where Harley is actually, sad about the dog being killed, even though it's, a big warhound, and she's like, poor puppy. And then Hippolyta says, "Is this one well? She shows no outward sign of combat trauma, but..." And Holly Robinson's just like, let's not go there. So, it's kind of interesting, Harley is definitely a unique character, and the way that Hippolyta would probably relate to that most from her own experiences is through her Amazons and whatnot that have gotten post-traumatic stress disorder. So, I don't know, it's all very interesting to me the way it's written. So they ultimately come up with this really cool plan too. So Hippolyta sends them back to the base, and they are going to be her spies. And they come back with this story about how they defeated the Warhound, and they come back and explain it in such a way that it's okay and they're accepted back. So then we go to the next page, and this is more kind of survivalist stuff. Piper's out there, and he's got a fire going and everything, but he's finally come to terms with it enough that he pulls out this knife, and it looks like he's, finally going to cut off the hand of the Trickster. So he is separated from the body, which is pretty morbid. And then we're catching up with Forager 2 and Jimmy Olsen. Coloring on this is pretty cool. I like how they always color it differently when they're on Apocalypse. Even if it's a different colorist, they do that throughout this whole series. So it's a little jarring when you switch the page and the colors are so different, but it also shows that you're in a really different setting. So anyways, Forager is out of it, and she's attacking him, but then comes to her senses, and they're going to try and leave, but then this villain called Bernadette comes in. So she's Desaad's sister, and they have a little fight, and it's really twisted because she is a masochist, I think? Yeah, masochist, where they like being hurt. So even though Jimmy's hitting her with quills and stabbing her and stuff, she actually likes it. So they're just like, that's freaky. But they're saved anyway because Darkseid, or someone anyway, blasts her hand, and they escape. And we see then on the next page, someone off panel, it looks like it's going to kill her. It's assumed it's maybe Darkseid, but it's actually implied that it's not. And that hand doesn't look like Darkseid, so we'll see in the next issue. So this issue ends with a crazy thing that I actually kind of predicted in the last issue, and that is that Jimmy Olsen and Forager start a romantic relationship. But, I'm not here to judge, so whatever, that's their thing. And then we go to the next page, and we get another one of these supervillain origins. This time it's of the Scarecrow, so very cool, and that's written by Scott Beatty, and the artist on that's Kelly Jones. So, pretty cool. I like these backstory deals that they have at the end of every issue as a special bonus. So that's all for now. I thought it was a pretty good issue. I wasn't so sure at first with that cover. Really, the cover is the only thing that I have against the issue. Aside from that, it was good. Continuation of the story. I really hope that things start to improve for the Piper, though. He's been getting kicked around for over 30 issues, so that's kind of rough. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. We had a live stream last night, and if you missed it, you can check that out, and we are hopefully going to have one every weekend, so that's all for now. Be sure and hit the bell for notifications. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed, and as always, thank you for watching and being a part of DC Fans United.
End of line.